Hello and welcome to the Global Dialogue. I'm Shireen Bhan and we're back again to talk about the development goals and where the world finds itself on that trajectory in conversation with Bill Gates. Bill, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV18. Let's start by talking about the pulse check that you do annually on where things shape up, and the brutal reality is not very good. I mean, you talk about the global health boom between 2000 and 2020 and then a 5-year stagnation period. You've been warning about the backsliding. Is anyone listening?
Well, people care about the world's children. We need to bring more attention to these issues at a time where there's a lot of competition for the aid budgets. The entire world set the goals in 2015 for where we'd get to in 2030, and we are very off track because instead of continuing the decline, which would have gotten us cutting the deaths in half again, we've been plateaued for about 5 years.
Speaking about the decline, Bill, and let's address the funding issue, because development aid has been declining. There isn't political capital or financial resources available at this point in time to address some of the issues that you talk about. Now, the role that the Gates Foundation and philanthropic organizations like yours can play is still limited. I mean, an annual payout of $9 billion this year, can you really top that up?
No, that'll be about the most we can do. And as you say, the big governments are way larger. And so, although often in R&D areas we can fund things on our own, when it comes to taking the tools, whether it's vaccines or drugs or nutrition, we need government partners, both rich world and developing world. And, I think if people knew the impact, and we're only asking for a couple % of these rich country budgets. It's not like, 4%, 5% or anything like that. But they should be proud of what they've done, and we should get back to it, because a lot of the innovations we're talking about allows those dollars to have even more impact. India's a nice situation because India funds almost all of its own health nowadays, and it's made it a priority. And so the partnership we have with the Indian government about, okay, why are there still these nutritional deficits? I would say that's a bright spot in an otherwise troubling picture.
I'll get to India in just a second, but I want to continue to address the funding issue. Right. You've got coalitions like GAVI coming up for replenishment. Do you worry that it's just not going to have the funding available or necessary?
Certainly, I do worry about that. I'm a salesman for GAVI. They've given me a $9 billion quota, and I'm worried that they're going to fire me, I'm afraid. No, it's a worthy cause. As the foundation looks back on its 25 years, although there have been a lot of amazing things, helping with GAVI, helping to found it and support it, engage with it, is the top of our list. So it would be almost criminal for GAVI not to get fully funded and provide these vaccines to all the world's children.
Mm-hmm. Even pandemic preparedness, and we've had this conversation previously, it's fallen off the radar. It's not even part of the conversation, whether we're talking about the US elections or anywhere outside of it as well. And do you worry that if we do see a change here in the US, that there will be a backsliding on many of these issues that we would try to address?
It's hard to say. I mean, the pandemic piece is really for the rich countries to protect themselves, by making sure that any new disease gets caught early with decent primary health care. That would avoid something spreading and getting to the rich countries. So even in their own self-interest, to have the kind of surveillance and basic capacities is a great investment, because even if the risk is 4% a year, the last one costs them many trillions of dollars.
So you asked the question in the report, is the global health boom over? Is it an intermission or a pause? Let me push you on that. Do you believe that it's over, or are we in the middle of an intermission at the moment?
No, I believe that humans do care about each other, and that we can overcome the fact that it's so far away. And there's a lot of other things going on that at the moment it's not getting the attention. It's a challenge to us who work in this field. and I think we'll meet that challenge.
You said that if you had a magic wand, the one issue that you would like to solve is the issue of malnutrition. And I think people don't understand fully or don't relate the economic implications and the economic impact of that. Walk us through what you believe governments need to focus on as the economic implications of malnutrition.
Yeah, malnutrition actually is not very well known. A lot of people, when you say that term, they think of hunger. And of course, if you have a complete food shortage, you are malnourished. But even kids where there's a reasonable amount of food, because their diet doesn't include all the right things, their stomach, their gut, can get into an inflamed state, and then they don't develop either their brain or their body. And there are over 200 million kids that have severe forms of malnutrition. And the insight that by reducing that, more kids, not only will they survive, but that they'll thrive, they'll do well in education and give back to their family and their country. The data on that's gotten so strong that we've been upping this as a priority, starting with our microbiome work about 10 years ago. And now we have some very low-cost initiatives, food fortification, vitamins for pregnant mothers, and bringing down the cost of very nutritious foods, including eggs and milk. And so at the Goalkeepers, we're saying, let's go do those things. And we'll also mention the ongoing research, not ready yet, but things like giving a probiotic to kids. We have a trial out that we could add that if it turns out to work as well as we hope.
Well, speaking of magic wands, the magic wand that everybody is talking about at this point in time is AI and what AI can do, and specifically generative AI. How do you see that linking back to the efforts on the healthcare side, the innovations that you're working on? I mean, how transformative is AI likely to be, or are we on the cusp of seeing that kind of transformation?
Usually when you get new technology, it's applied to in the rich world for those who are well off. And what we'd like to do this time with AI is make sure, both in terms of discovering new interventions for nutrition or vaccines or drugs, and helping give people health advice, in voice and their native language, that we actually bring these AI advances to those most in need. I mean, after all, where's the greatest shortage of doctors? It's in developing countries. And so the foundation is leading the way by giving grants to various people and pushing this forward. Even for a topic as complex as nutrition, the AIs are going to help us understand things faster than we would without it.
If you could do a startup all over again and focus on AI, what would the niche be that you would like to address?
Well, if you could go back to my school days even, and then I was saying, hey, how do we make software as smart as human beings? And I was constantly thinking about it. I underestimated how long it would take, but here we are on the cusp of that. And so now the lens I apply is the lens of the foundation. If I was somebody young, sure, I'd compete with OpenAI and all these people. But, now I'm in the stage of saying, how do I help other people working in AI apply it to those most in need?
You were in India recently. You spent 4 days there doing a lot of interesting things, including hanging out with Dolly the chai wala. Have you added tea into your beverage list on a daily basis now?
No, I had a hot dog today, because New York, we eat hot dogs. India, okay, that's where I'll drink tea.
No, but seriously, as far as India is concerned, the role and relevance and the significance of India, especially as far as the foundation is concerned, and what you're hoping to do on the innovation side.
So India's the country the foundation does the most in. Other than the US, that's our largest group. We have a great team there. We work a lot with the national government and many of the state governments. And not only do we see in areas like nutrition or using ultrasound to detect a difficult pregnancy, we're doing a lot of studies with our partners there, which will have a benefit for India, but also because the digital infrastructure in India is so strong, we can try things out there and take them to other countries. The digital infrastructure itself is a great example where, the leadership has laid that foundation, and now both India and Gates Foundation are going to Africa and other places and saying, hey, you should do the same thing.
Was there a specific learning from this trip to India for you?
Well, it was pretty amazing in Odisha to see how the digital approach was connecting with farmers, that they had categorized which farmers were in which location, what were they growing. And so when they would see crop disease outbreak, they could notify them. If they saw weather coming, they could notify those farmers. If the market prices were changing, they could help guide the farmers. And so the digital revolution, bringing that into that agricultural sector, that was the first time I saw that at work. And it's being scaled up in India. Now we'll take it to the rest of the world.
But let me end by asking you, 25 years of the Gates Foundation, in many ways it's the end of a chapter and also the start of a new one. Are you likely to reprioritize the areas that you focus on? I mean, how are things going to be different at the Gates Foundation?
Well, we are going to keep global health as the majority of what we do. There's still so much work to be done. 5 million children dying a year, and why should we live with that? We'll continue the other areas, agriculture. We always work with a lens towards helping uplift women, particularly in their health needs. But no, the foundation is staying to what it's good at. We're looking for more partners all the time. But we're going to build on the success of the last 25 years. And
if there was one thing that you would like to prioritize, what would it be?
Well, all these infectious diseases, during my lifetime, I'd like to get them to near zero, whether it's malaria or HIV or even, perhaps most ambitiously, malnutrition.
Bill, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us and appreciate your time here on CNBC TV18. Well, that is it on this edition of CNBC TV18's Global Dialogue. From all of us here on the team for now, goodbye and many thanks for watching.